Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Southwest Pennsylvania Full Commission Meeting. Today's Monday, June 24, 2024. Chairman Pat Fabian calling this meeting to order. Do we have a quorum? I believe we do too. Caitlin, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I got a lot of positive feedback. I think I used the word time suck at our last meeting. We're not doing introductions, so we're going to skip the round robin introductions and move along to any conflict or interest of declarations on any of the agenda items at this time. Anyone? All right, moving along. You minutes are in your packet. I'm looking for a motion to approve those minutes as written.
So moved, Kevin Booth.
Thank you, Kevin. Second.
Second, Doug Chu.
Thanks, Doug. Any additional comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Public comment come before commission. All right, moving along. Agenda item 4. Looking to hear from Dom on the draft for the 25-28 transportation or program or TIP. Dom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really a culmination of 4 years worth of work is coming to you here today with the transportation improvement program or TIP. It's one of the most important efforts led by SPC. And as with every TIP update, this process, again, started over a year ago with meetings of what we call TIP work groups. These TIP work groups are made up of your county planning staff, PennDOT staff, SPC staff, the region's transit operators, and others. I would like to thank them and you for your continuing support of the TIP development and this process. There are over $4 billion worth of transportation projects in this draft 4-year TIP. Next slide. Oh, we're good. This was our TIP schedule. We're here today at the very end of it. We got everything done. We're on time. In early January, we submitted the pre-draft TIP project list to PennDOT. Previously we had fall meetings, public meetings. We submitted the draft TIP list to PennDOT Central Office for the review in January. The review is completed of that draft list. Here in the spring, we obtained endorsement from our Transportation Technical Committee and our Transit Operator Committees of the TIP project list. Using that list, we conducted the federally required air quality conformity analysis and environmental justice reviews and prepared the draft documents. We also completed soliciting, evaluating, and selecting projects for our smart transportation program. And we scheduled our 30-day public comment period from May 8th to June 6th. And we'll talk about that a little later in the presentation. Next slide. So we are currently in the 2023-2026 TIP. And there's going to be, so we're currently in the second year of that TIP. This update will bring us to 2025 to 2028. It includes a transit side of the TIP and a highway bridge side of the TIP. But what you must remember, what we're bringing to you today is kind of a snapshot in time, because the TIP is a living and breathing document. We meet monthly at our Transportation Technical Committee meetings to amend the TIP. Why do we amend the TIP? We amend the TIP because bids come in, they come in high. Project priorities change. We shift money to where the project is ready on a monthly basis, working with the county planners and with PennDOT. Next slide. The draft 25-28 TIP also reflects investment themes that are consistent with the region's long-range plans. Investment themes like economic development, infrastructure condition, safety, efficiency, and system reliability, and multimodal options. Each TIP amends the long-range plan with updated project schedules, funding, and budgets. The regional vision, along with the policies set forth in the long-range plan, guide the investments and strategies being programmed in the TIP, which is the primary implementation vehicle for the long-range plan. The 25-28 TIP makes significant investments to further these policies in the regional vision. Next slide. We're already there. Okay. On the transit side, the total base federal and state funds are up nearly 12% over the current 23 TIP. That's what this chart shows. Shared ride services funding is flat, even though costs for it are rising. There is legislation right now that proposes to increase transit funding across the state. It has passed in the House and is being debated in Senate committee as we speak. Next slide. So this is the highway bridge base funds. You can see that the 2025 TIP will have an increase over the 2023 base funds of approximately 7%. This is largely due to two reasons. The motor license fund proceeds will be returned to PennDOT programs and projects pending a transfer of funds to the Pennsylvania State Police. In addition, we have seen increases from the most recent transportation bill, the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and the new programs that came out of it. Keep in mind here, as Rich said at the previous meeting, that what we are talking about here are base formula funds. When we have large projects with large price tags that have a big impact to our TIP, IIJA has also discretionary funds that we can go after. And we have been assisting and coordinating applications with PennDOT, counties, municipalities, and others for those discretionary funds, and will continue to do so. Next slide. As with the current TIP and with several recent TIPs, bridges continue to be the largest investment in the highway bridge draft TIP. The region continues to invest heavily in bridge work, making up 43% of the total TIP. Projects to address poor bridges and projects to preserve and extend the life of other bridges is all part of the investment in bridge assets. On bridge condition, we have made strides in the last 10 to 12 years, cutting the number of poor bridges in half in that time period. But we still have work to do. Our region still has 13% of all bridges that are in poor condition. After this bridge investment, we have roadway work at 22% of the TIP, efficiency and operations at 13%, safety at 13%, and also ped bike at 4%. Next slide. So what are the investments in transportation through the 25 draft TIP? The draft TIP invests over $860 million in the region's bridge infrastructure on over 280 bridges, 140 of which are in poor condition. The draft TIP invests $437 million in the region's roadway infrastructure, 54 projects. It invests $253 million in safety projects, 51 projects. It invests over $848 million in infrastructure improvements on current transit routes, roadways that transit touches. It invests over $688 million in the region's freight network, roadways that freight touches. It also invests over $72 million in bicycle and pedestrian improvement projects. Next slide, please. On the transit side, the draft TIP invests over $2.2 billion in the region's transit infrastructure and operations. The region will invest over $300 million in new clean diesel and alternative fueled small transit vehicles and buses over the period of this TIP. Pittsburgh Regional Transit will invest about $150 million in upgrades to the busway and rail line bridges, tunnels, tracks, and rights-of-way over the period of this TIP. The region will invest over $30 million in upgrades to and construction of maintenance and administrative facilities over the next 4 years. PRT will invest about $67 million in new light rail vehicles over the next 4 years. Next slide. As we mentioned at the public meetings, even though we're experiencing cost increases due to inflation and supply chain issues, we still have many, many projects advancing in our region in this TIP. And they're listed here on the screen. We have 437 million in roadways. I won't go through all of them. These are just highlights. This is not a complete list. A complete list was given to the commissioners after the April meeting. I emailed the list to all the commissioners after the April meeting. The 437 million in roadways. I tried to mention at least one project in every county there. We have Campbell's Run Road in Allegheny County, Smithfield Street in the city of Pittsburgh, Rod 422 in Armstrong County, Rod 18 in Beaver County, 228 in Butler County, Gallatin Avenue in Fayette County, Rod 18, Rod 21 in Greene County, Rod 422 in Armstrong, and in Indiana County, Perry Highway in Lawrence County, Rod 22 repairs in Washington County, and Rod 30 in Westmoreland County. We have 72 million in investment in pedestrian and bike. I'll just hit a couple of highlights here. Sheepskin Trail in Fayette County, Allegheny River Green Boulevard in Allegheny County. Next slide. We have $860 million investment in bridges. You can see I've listed some of the bridges there in each of the counties, including major bridges like the West End Bridge in Allegheny County and Thrennen Bridge in Allegheny County. We have the Swinburne Bridge in the city of Pittsburgh. We have the Layton Bridge in Fayette County. We have the Carnes Crossing Bridge in Butler County, which we're trying to find additional funding for, because that's a rather large bridge with a rather large price tag. $245 million investment in operations and safety. That includes a wrong way detection system on Route 28, where we've had a lot of wrong way crashes in Allegheny County. It includes the McClure-Kingview Road interchange in Fayette County. It includes the Margaret Road alignment that's happening and completing the funding for that in Armstrong County, and so forth. Next slide. On the transit side, 2.2 billion, as I said. I've already talked about some of the Pittsburgh regional transit investments. A lot of these are bus replacements and purchase of smaller transit buses. This is sort of the way transit is moving toward the smaller transit vehicle. As you see there, for example, Town and Country replacing 7 small buses, Beaver County Transit, facility renovations, Butler Transit, purchasing 3 compressed natural gas low floor buses, Fayette County, 6 similar buses and 13 vans, Greene County, construction of administrative offices for transit, and so forth. A lot of bus replacements and some smaller bus purchases as well. Next slide. So in addition to the regional TIP, there is the statewide managed interstate program. We include the interstate projects the state is doing in the 4-year period. Here you can see that across the region, with work being done on I-376, I-79, and I-70, there will be a $631 million programmed investment in our interstates. And now I think I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda Craig of our staff, who will talk about the details of our outreach and public involvement. Rhonda?
Thank you, Don. So good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to start off by saying a huge thank you to everybody in the room, to those who are online and those who maybe have not joined us in a successful public meeting season. So again, thank you. We could not have done it without you all. So thank you. Next slide. I'm going to go through the next couple slides quickly. These are slides that you've already seen at the public meetings. They're highlights of various efforts of discussions, decision-making, information and data gathering, and creating awareness in regards to the draft TIP 2025-2028. Discussions and decisions making, such as at TTC and TOC, working with our PennDOT partners and integrating comments from their State Transportation Commission 12-year plan. Also past comments from the fall meetings in regards to the TIP, and then also past comments in regards to the long-range plan. We had 11 fall meetings and other planning initiatives such as corridor studies and then also road safety audits. And also creating awareness on all social media platforms in regards to the public meetings. Next slide. So this is the public meeting schedule. So we started in Indiana County on May the 8th and we wrapped up in June 4th in Lawrence County. So this is just a list of where we were. So May was busy, and the beginning of June was busy for all of us. Next slide. Folks could view the draft tip on our website from May the 8th to June the 7th. We had 11 meetings where comments, feedback, and also questions were addressed. We had a hybrid and virtual. We had one hybrid meeting and 2 virtual meetings that were recorded, and they can be viewed on our website. We shared comments with all of our partners, such as the city, the counties, the transit agencies that assisted in crafting draft tip responses. And then TTC and TOC recommended the adoption of the tip. Next slide. Again, here are the public comments. So there was 54 comments, with 15 being on safety, 13 being on active transportation, 6 on transit, 6 on roadway conditions, 3 on comments on Amtrak and passenger rail, 3 comments on bridge conditions, 3 comments on efficiency and operation, 2 were general comments, 1 in new capacity, 1 in livability comment, and 1 on environmental justice and Justice 40. We received 21 comments from Allegheny County. Armstrong, we received 8. Beaver 2, Fayette 9, Greene 1, Indiana 5, Lawrence 4, Washington 2, and Westmoreland 2. Next slide. So now I'm just going to review some of the public meeting statistics. So on the chart up to the right, or I'm sorry, up to the left, that you can see that we had an increase across the meetings. The bottom brown ones were from the fall of 2023, which overall we had 224 participants. The top, the green, is from the spring tip meetings. So we increased that by 100. And then to the right of that is a breakdown of individual participants, such as the news and media. We had 6 at the fall meetings, and we had 11 at our spring meeting. Panelists, township supervisors, the county planners, and the public, I put them in one. We seen in the fall we had 140 individuals that participated, and then in the spring we had 163. We had great regional representation from the commissioners, so I was very happy with that. Great job to the PennDOT partners. Also great job to SPC's team. Some additional stats on the bottom is we had collected 8 hard copy comments when we were out and about at our public meetings. We collected 15 evaluation forms, so that was people responding on how we could improve our public meetings. And we had 8 in-person meetings, 2 virtual and 1 hybrid. The public meetings were covered by numerous newspapers such as the Leader Times, the Indiana Gazette, the Beaver Times, the Pittsburgh Union Progress, Westmoreland Tribune, the Greene County Herald Standard, the Observer, and the Daily Courier, and Cranberry News or Eagle. Also, we had 2 radio stations, the Butler and Indiana's WCCC or CCS. And then we had 2 news stations that attended WPXI and WTAE. Next slide. So this is our earned media. So again, just talking about the newspaper. So there was 14 clips. Audience was 313,232. And we didn't have to spend $1, but we got $6,493 in value. The total number of posts across all platforms was 86. The total number of likes was 259. The total number of shares was 60. We had 4 comments that come in, and the engagement rate over the 30-day public comment period across all platforms was 11%. And my teammate Joey said that the average was 3. So, very, very successful public meeting, and I want to thank everybody. We could not have done it without you, so thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. I'm going to get into a little bit of the federally required analysis that we need to do for the TIP. So we are federally required to make sure that the TIP meets federal air quality standards. Staff completed the analysis. For the designated ozone areas, I have a slide up here. The charts on the right refer to the EPA ozone standard. The graph on the top is volatile organic compounds, mostly unburned gas from the tailpipe. And the graph on the bottom is nitrogen oxides, a byproduct of fuel combustion. For both graphs, the top line is the motor vehicle emission budget approved for our area for the type of emission represented in the graph in tons per day. The bottom line is the emission projection in tons per day. Conformity is demonstrated if the emission projection is lower than the budget. The graphs do show that this is the case for 8-hour ozone measure. Next slide. We are also required to look at particulate matter, which are tiny particles or droplets in the air that are 2.5 microns or less in width. The graph on the top is particulate matter from tire wear, brake wear, and fuel combustion byproducts. The graph on the bottom is particulate matter from nitrogen oxides, a byproduct, again, of fuel combustion. Both graphs, the top line is the motor vehicle emission budget approved for our area. Bottom line is the emission projection in tons per year. And again, the graphs do show that conformity is demonstrated here with the emission projection lower than the budget. Based on our analysis, our staff has concluded that our draft TIP is in conformance with the Federal Clean Air Act. Next slide. The other thing we're required to look at is environmental justice. The conclusion of our environmental justice analysis indicates that projects identified in our draft long-range plan, our draft TIP, demonstrates that benefits of the program projects and total investment of resources are equitable to populations who are traditionally or have the potential to be disadvantaged in the planning process. Our analysis concludes that 69% of the TIP investments will be made in low-income census blocks. 50% of the TIP investments will be made in minority census blocks. Our analysis concludes that there is anticipated to be no unfair allocation of burdens or benefits to communities of concern via the implementation of the 2025-2028 TIP. Furthermore, no population groups were found to be disproportionately or adversely affected by the implementation of our draft plan. Next slide. So at this point, before we get into the 3 resolutions, as with any TIP update, we have 3 resolutions that need your action. I'll ask if there are any questions.
Anybody want to beat up Dom? If not, Dom, before we vote on these resolutions, I just, having sit through a few tips, I think every time I have a greater appreciation for what you do to make this all happen. Not only you, but the staff here at SPC. It's a daunting task, and you guys deliver. So thank you, and it's appreciated.
Thank you for this time.
I do have a question. So So you said that, so with the funding and the tip, you meet monthly and then you can like move money around as projects are ready to go. Can you add new things that maybe weren't in there, like under the buckets, like say there's like the bike ped bucket? Can you add new things to that if something comes up?
Yeah, projects are added.
Oh, projects can be added.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just sort of thinking of like bike share in Pittsburgh is something I'm interested in. So I don't know if that's in your,
We are funding bike share in Pittsburgh.
oh, okay.
Pittsburgh Bike Share, we just funded them to help them electrify their bikes and for more stations.
And for more say, okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Dom?
I have a question. Hi. Wondering, you listed in the presentation several bridge projects. And you also mentioned earlier that many of the bridges are in poor condition. Were all of those that were listed, what's the condition percentage of the total projects that are in poor condition? That might be.
I
I
think I said
Maybe 140 projects.
140
Out
of
of how
them.
many?
Yeah, hold on a minute. 280. Half of them are in poor condition.
That's been a problem here. I've been on this board 16 years.
We,
Fundings keep being allocated to fixing the bridges because nobody took care of them when they needed to be taken care of.
I'll also say, I think we have been making progress. If you go back
Progress.
10 years, it was probably 25 or 26%
25%.
of our bridges were in poor condition. We're down to 13 or 14 before this tip. And I think after this tip, it might go down a couple more percentage.
Two more.
Two more, okay.
We're,
So we're making progress.
if we complete all the bridges on this step, we'll be down to like 11, from 13 to 11%.
That's the whole Liberty County area.
Any other?
I guess I do, I have one more just with regard to transit. So I saw that, so building new, bus lines and swapping out for new buses or smaller buses. Can TIP funds be used for operational things to help improve service, whether that be like hiring more, drivers or what, just get more service? I mean, because
The majority of the transit tip funds is operations.
Okay.
I don't remember the off the top of my head right now. It's pretty large. Ready?
I don't know, you got anything down there? All right, well, let's tackle these, if nothing else for Dawn, let's tackle these resolutions. So, agenda item 7, it relates to the tip, looking for a motion and a second on resolution 5-24 to adopt the air quality conformity determination for the 25-28 tip.
If I may, Mr. Mayor. First resolution is 5-24, which indicates the commission finds that the region's 2025, 2028 tip and revised long-range plan, because we have to revise the long-range plan with the revised tip list. But all of that conforms to the Federal Clean Air Act as determined by staff. That's what this resolution is about.
And I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tony. Second.
I'll second.
Second. Any questions for Dom on this? As he attested to earlier with his analysis, all those in favor say aye.
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 You had a question. When you asked for a question.
Answer questions.
Too late. One.
Question is, and does SBC work with the Allegheny County Board of Health and with the state DEP on the determination, or is that determined, how is that determined?
In terms of clean air?
Monitoring.
Oh, yeah. We work with both, yeah. I mean, this report is Chuck here?
He's back there, yep. Got it.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, we work with both of those agencies in terms of review efforts.
I didn't hear the
The
question.
health department and DEP, do we work with those?
Yeah, we work closely with the health department and DEP staff both.
So it's already been made, so Right.
It's passed, but I'm glad we got the answer to your question. Moving along to agenda item number 8. Look for a motion and second on resolution 6-24 to certify the transportation planning process of transportation.
Yeah, this certifies that our metropolitan planning process is being carried out in accordance with all applicable requirements, that we carry out the 3 Cs: continuing, cooperative, and comprehensive multimodal transportation planning process.
Second.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Who was that online?
I said second before they said.
Larry Maggi, second.
Oh, wait, let Larry. Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner.
We got a motion and second. Any further discussion? Thanks again, Dom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank
And
you.
lastly, probably the one you're most excited about, Dom. Looking for a motion and a second on the on resolution 724 to adopt the 25-28 TIP program.
Hello, Kevin Booth.
Second.
Vince. Kevin and Vince, any discussion on that? Again, thank you, Dom, for all your hard work to you and your staff. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Heavy lift, Dom.
I can start over.
Yeah. Love her. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, where's that?
Here.
All right. Economic and workforce development.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to give you a quick update on a few things. The first is Build Back Better. A couple times a year, I like to just give everybody kind of where we're at in the process. Next slide. So very brief reminder, it is a $62.7 million regional grant awarded by EDA in September 2022. There are 5 individual grants under this project. STC happens to manage the workforce grant, which is project 3, expanded pathways to new economy careers. And the whole point of all this is regional job creation, training, equity, entrepreneurship, business support, cluster growth, and all kind of just significant areas of focus. Next slide. So in terms of actual project 3 and the workforce project itself, the goals and objectives are pretty simple. Expand training and placement opportunities. We want to build a vibrant and robust robotics ecosystem, establish clear pathways and wraparound services to employment for students and workers. We want to be responsive to the needs of regional businesses. And we want to establish regional training hubs. So ultimately, the goal here is to train and retain. We want to serve our businesses and our workers. So where we're at. Next slide. So a lot has been happening over the last 2 years, but so far we've had over 7,000 people attend robotics related events. So that's Discovery Day, that's a lot of different things. We've trained we're actually at 2,000 people. This is just, I'm waiting for the final reports to come in, but we've already trained 2,000 students in robotics and tech-based training. And that goes across all different types of training, whether that's classroom style, incumbent worker training, on-the-job training, classroom workshops, you name it. But we've had 30 start and work-based training. We've had 10 full impacted start training. It seems like a small number, but that is a very specific class that's going on in Greene County with the United Mine Workers Career Center. So they have cohorts that are ongoing. And then we have 50 enrolled in pre-apprenticeships. We have supportive services provided. So this was a really big piece of this. We wanted to meet people where they're at. So if you wanted to go into robotics training, we wanted to make sure there were no barriers and we could mitigate whatever that was going to be. So let's say, I would use the example, we had 3 pre-apprenticeship students that were receiving training through CCAC that were working with the Workforce Investment Board, started a new job at EOS. Didn't have the money, being new students, new to the workplace, did not have money to really get to work. So the Workforce Investment Board was able to provide gas cards to start that employment. So those trainees are still there. They're doing well. Gas cards no longer needed. But that's an example of, we want to make sure if people want to go to work, we can help kind of remove whatever those barriers are going to be. So again, mitigation teams have been formed for removing barriers to employment. Maybe it's childcare, maybe it's transportation. Again, we want to make sure if you want to work, get to work. And then data tracking, significant improvements in rural, urban, demographic, and equity-based data tracking. The Allegheny Conference has created a marketing campaign that you're going to see a lot of information on in the next 30, 60 days. Tons of work still accomplished, but I at least wanted to give you all an update on kind of where we're at. But training is working. It's going well, but still lots to do. Next up, especially in the area of stakeholder engagement. You guys have heard me talk about this a few times, the IWG Rapid Response Meetings. And so this is the Interagency on Working Group on Coal Communities. This is a Biden administration established group, and it's for coal and power plant communities and economic revitalization. The whole point is to facilitate economic revitalization in coal, oil and gas, and power plant communities, and ultimately support workers. And so first activities were held last year, and this was in August of last year, met with 5 counties. And all of the counties that you see here are listed, but Armstrong, Beaver, Fayette, Greene, Indiana, and Washington. All of these meetings culminated in an October 20th event at Westmoreland Community College, in which you had the governor there, you had quite a few different federal agencies. Senator Casey was there. SPC had the pleasure of speaking about the services we provide. Well, they came back to us in late March and said, we want to keep talking to the region and find out what the needs are going to be. And so we've done some planning with the 6 counties to kind of figure out how we can host some meetings, have some conversations, and we wanted to do a mix of in-person and virtual meetings. So we held 3 meetings 2 weeks ago in Fayette, Indiana, and Washington, and we have 3 virtual meetings going on this week, starting tomorrow with Armstrong, Beaver on the 25th, and Greene on the 26th. Next slide. Just a couple pictures from the So really want to thank specifically Fayette County, all of their staff, specifically Mark Rayfeld and their planning, who just helped really pull a lot of this together. Byron Stoffer for Indiana County, who really put all of this together. SPC builds the table at which the conversations happen. And so we're able to work with our partners to bring everybody in the room to talk about what the needs are, how we can help. And then finally, Jason Theekson, who you see there for Washington County. These meetings were as diverse as you could possibly imagine, representing 15, 20 people, all the way up to Indiana had almost 80 people. So robust conversations on what the region's needs are. So whether it's infrastructure, is it broadband, is it transportation, is it workforce, and really talking to multiple federal agencies. I believe we had 11 federal agencies on the call that were listening to what those needs are. So a lot of the topics that came out of this were water and sewage related challenges, brownfields. I've applied for brownfields multiple times and I haven't heard anything. Broadband was a huge piece that came out of this. But what was great is it was FaceTime with federal agencies so that you can discuss what the needs are and you can talk to them about your projects and what you might have in mind. And so the next step is going to be a fall 2024 regional convening. More information to come on this, but right now they're compiling all the data from all of the conversations to find out regionally what those needs are. And you'll hear more about that. But more importantly, I can't stress this enough. If you have projects in mind, talk to us, especially talk to myself if it's economic development in nature. Again, if I'm not the right person, SPC will connect you to who that will be. Right. And so I just also wanted to talk about PA sites. We talked very in depth about this in policy, but wanted to give you guys also a kind of an overview on what we're doing. So as mentioned, being in Harrisburg, PA sites came up as a huge priority for the region. And so one of the things that we're doing here on the Economic Development Department is the advocacy, still can't get that word right, and data collection as a result of where we've sat in the conversation we've had. So PA Sites is Strategic Investments to Enhance Sites program. This is something you may have heard about, especially in the paper. The governor's asking for $500 million in the 24-25 budget on this. And so as a region, we want to be as prepared as possible. So the PA Sites program is administered through DCD, through the Pennsylvania First program. It's intended to serve as gap financing for strategic sites to help reduce the development risk for businesses. It is a grant, and it's there to help finance strategic investments to effectively compete for expanding and relocating business. And so this program is going to help reduce risk for businesses. And ultimately, that $500 million is going to be very, very helpful. So one of the other key pieces I wanted to stress is that $500 million is much larger than the initial program amount of $10 million. So they came out with this program in the fall. It was $10 million. They received over 100 applications. I believe Jonna mentioned in our meeting 103 That represented $235 million in projects for $10 million. So it's very, very important that us as a region be strategically planned to start thinking about what are the projects that we want to talk about. And so in an effort to be more prepared for this, our regional partner, the Allegheny Conference, via the PRA, is working with the county EDOs to establish what those regional sites might be. And so we're ready to go if and when those 500 million get approved. And so SPC will eventually receive the list from all of the county economic development organizations, and we'll get that out to our county commissioners. So you're aware of this. And when we talk about advocacy, it's understanding kind of what projects in your backyard are going to be very, very important. You can add to your list or whatever it's going to be, but additional talking points will be provided so that as you're talking about this from a standpoint of why this program is so important to not only your county, but the region, you have that information kind of at your fingertips. So the goal of all of this is to be as prepared as possible, to bring as many resources into the region as possible and help enhance our economic development preparedness. So any questions on this? And I don't know, Rich, if you want to talk about Harrisburg and how this was so important to us.
I'm going to jump in on exactly.
Perfect.
Good segue. So for my part, the Harrisburg trip that we did in early May was extremely successful. People are still talking about it. You can see some of the slides up there. We met with the leadership in the Senate, the leadership in the House. There we are with Pro Tem Ward, Lieutenant Governor Davis, in Senator Pittman's office. I think about 15 or 16 commissioners at different parts of the trip. Met with Secretary Carroll. I mean, it was very, very impactful. And you can see that some of the folks on that list, the Representative Overlander, Barlotta, et cetera. One of the most important one probably was Representative Matzey, who serves actually on the broadband authority from Beaver County. And that was very helpful because the first round of funding, there were a few counties that didn't get some of the funding that they're looking for, and hopefully next round we had a lot of commitments from some of the folks and the help from Representative Matzey that will be able to do that. And then we had a breakfast the next morning, and we had a tremendous turnout from our Senate and House delegation. These are some of the folks that showed up that were there. A lot of good discussion again around broadband, the site selection process that we had earlier at the policy committee was really important. The governor's going to be proposing $500 million worth of site improvements for our industrial sites, economic development sites around the region, around the state. And we want to make sure that we get our fair share and get our sites improved. We earlier had the RADC as well as the Allegheny Conference. So I think all of us all working together, if we go with a list in a coordinated fashion, I think we'll be very, very successful. I also mentioned earlier that we would like to go to the PA Chambers October event. It's on October the 7th. It's a Monday. If you can mark that on your calendar, it's a big evening event that they have. Even if you could head up there towards dinner time, it's well worthwhile for us to be there. We also mentioned that in September, I think it's 17th and 18th, we want to go to Washington, D.C. with the Allegheny Conference, again, with our priorities to be able to go visit our delegation at the Senate and the House. I think it'll be very, very helpful and impactful for us to do that. I also, in kind of piggybacking off of what Dom and the transportation team did, let me talk about the connector, some of the things that we have here with Secretary Dunn, opening the switchback down in Point State Park. I see County Executive Murata and Deputy Mayor Pollock there, along with Secretary Dunn. These are just some of the projects that we've been working on. And as we get out and try to promote some of the things that we're doing, there's the grant in Armstrong County with our friends, Mr. Straight, Shea, and Fabian, commissioners receiving the grant that they had there. I think the next one is Greene County. Yes, Greene County getting the RAMP program moving forward. And then there's another one, I think, with Greene County with the motocross, huge event. You can see that almost 20,000 people that showed up to that event last week. And that was the national race. And we're hoping to get the international race in a few years if we can improve some things along those lines. But back to the TIP meeting real briefly. I can't thank enough all of the success, all the cooperation we had from all of you and all of your teams your planning departments, your public works departments, putting that list together. And our friends at PennDOT, Districts 10, 11, and 12 were very, very helpful. And I just throw this out for you at your next tip. I would give a little shout out to Armstrong County. They piggybacked a commission and supervisor meeting with the tip meeting, and we had almost all the elected officials, local elected officials in Armstrong County, including all 3 state representatives who represent Armstrong County, the state senator, were all part of that meeting. And it was very impactful for those folks in Harrisburg and the PennDOT people to hear what our needs and what our priorities are. So it's just something to think about in the future. But all the meetings were very well attended. I also want to thank Ryan Gordon, who's over in the back there. He pinch hit sometimes for Dom in some of the meetings, but it was very, very well coordinated and well attended. So again, thank everybody for cooperation. And the last thing I want to say, talk about is we get a little bit of a radio show right now on KDKA on Wednesday mornings. It's called Around the Region. Our first guest was Mr. Fabian, and they were so happy that they wanted to continue it on into the future. And we've had Commissioner McClure has been on, and Commissioner Mercedes, last week Commissioner Sherman, this week Commissioner Oshie, talking about some of the things that you want to promote in your counties, whether it be the county fair that's coming up, whether it be an economic development initiative, a bridge, whatever it might be, things that are happening. So get to Caitlin O'Connor and her team have really done a great job of not just, asking and doing the things that we do, but also promoting and selling and publicizing the things that we do to make sure that our constituents know that we're out there working on their behalf to make things better. And with that, I'll open up to any questions anybody might have. Seeing none, I would adopt a resolution for the schedule for next year. As everybody has seen it, we sent it out a little bit earlier for our meeting schedule for 24-25. There it is right there. And I will entertain a motion to approve the schedule.
All right, we're looking
So
for-
moved, Larry Maggi.
Wait, Larry.
Doug Chu.
Can do it, actually. Yeah. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those, calendar adopted. Caleb, can you back to that Armstrong picture real quick? I just wanted people to be aware, and I don't know how many commissioners there are, because the Allegheny obviously touches part of, when we talk county-wise, particularly Armstrong, Allegheny County, Westmoreland, a little bit of Butler and Clarion. But, something we do with our Act 13 money is we donate it to the Allegheny River Development Corporation. We talk about commercial traffic on the Allegheny River. DJ's did a nice job of putting the STAR program up in the forefront of our legislators. There seems to be a lot of bipartisan support to really study these rivers in southwestern PA. But because legislation and funding does not recognize recreation boating traffic, these are the folks, and you see the gentleman in the middle there, Mike, and his wife Ferris. These are the folks that several years ago that put a group of people together, and it's the only one in the country that I'm aware of, that they raise funds and go after grants to keep the locks and dams open on the Allegheny River, so folks can get up and down those walks there that are listed. And recreation is a huge part of our river system that's not actually counted. So we do what we can by taking our legacy dollars and giving them a check yearly. But if they ever happen to send a letter to your county, you might think about it, because it does flow through, most of our counties, and you know who you are. But I just wanted to point that out. And it's not every weekend, but whether it's 4th of July, Memorial Day, those holiday weekends, and particularly through the summer months leading up to Labor Day. So I just wanted to recognize them and their efforts for that, and kind of what we do as county leaders to help them out on keeping those locks and dams open. So it really does have an economic impact on our community, 63 miles of the Allegheny. So
I had one. No, that was. I also want to introduce our newest employee, our newest leader, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Jennifer Liptak. And we mentioned earlier before about bridges. And just to give you one example, one of the reasons I'm excited that Jennifer is here is she gets things done. When I became county executive 12 years ago, we had 72 poor red bridges. To Joy, that question before, 72 out of our 300. And I asked Jennifer to put a plan together to reduce that number. And as she left the manager's office, I think that number's down to 2 right now. And by the end of next year, it'll be 0. So that's just one of the things she has done. And the other one I would say, we had a good meeting last week with DJ and his team with the Port of Pittsburgh, going up and down our rivers and all the importance that we're doing. And obviously Armstrong County, I think has 4 or 5 of the locks and dams along the Allegheny. We put a project in place where Jennifer put together to take fossil fuels off of our county operations and use a hydro plant, hydro energy. And I think about all the money that's out there. That was even before the IRA funding was in place. So I think about all that IRA money that's there now. We have so many locks and dams up and down the Ohio, the Monongahela, and the Allegheny that it might be something that all of you might want to look at the locks and dams that are located in your counties. Jennifer, I'd like to maybe say a few words and welcome you aboard. So
First of all, I'm not a hydro expert,
you got it done though.
bridge expert, but what I can help do is bring the right people together who have the right level of skill sets to help get projects done. So I don't think any of us are specific experts in anything. I'm pretty good at bringing people together and trying to figure out how to get stuff done. So, but I won't take credit for getting those things done myself, but I was part of a great team. We had a really good team that did that. But I'm very pleased to be here. I want to thank all of you for being welcoming, and specifically the staff. I was very impressed with all the presentations today. And I'm just looking forward to getting to know most of you more. Some of you I know, but I want to get to know everyone, and I really do appreciate being welcome. So thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to say a few words.
Absolutely. Before I ask for adjournment, I just wanted to open up to our counties, commissioners, and guests for any comments, maybe something that wasn't on the agenda item that you'd like to bring to the table. So the floor is open. Like to share?
I think just from PennDOT's perspective, again, thank you to SPC and all of the county commissioners, county staff, the level of effort that goes into a TIP update. And as soon as it's done, we start again. We'll give everybody a week, a month or so. Right? Well, we work through the federal and state approvals, but they don't get any easier. And the team assembled here in SPC does a fantastic job. So thank you again from PennDOT.
Thank you. All right, looking for a motion to adjourn then.
I'll make that motion.
Betsy, second?
Second.